Joining us now is Labour MP Rushanara Ali. He's chair, actually, of the all-party parliamentary group on democracy in Burma. Thanks for joining us. Just to comment on what we're seeing there, it does seem a lot of echoes of Hong Kong street protests, perhaps even the Arab Spring as well.
Yes, it's extremely encouraging to see that people are out despite the enormous dangers for them, because this is one of the most ruthless militaries in the world. We've seen them repress and kill a lot of people during the 2017 attacks on the Rohingya population. And of course, they've got history in repressing the public, as we've seen in the past. So it's very encouraging, but we need to show solidarity with the people of Myanmar and the parliamentarians who are democratically elected. You know, the NLD won 87% of the share of the vote. And instead of the military respecting that vote and respecting the democratic will of the people, they have instituted a coup. So the international community needs to show solidarity with those youngsters, with those people on the streets who are risking their lives protesting against one of the most ruthless militaries in the world, as well as taking action. And that's why today's announcement by President Biden, is encouraging, and we need our government to step up. Frankly, it hasn't in the past.
I will come to that. I guess I'm interested because we have seen these kinds of protests around the world, and they excite, and they are, they're moving almost. But on the other hand, they don't always work. We've seen in Hong Kong, obviously, there's been major setbacks in recent months, and the history of the Arab Spring was very, very mixed, wasn't it? I wonder whether we should be optimistic about what might be going on there.
Well, look, the people of Burma need the international community to help them. That's why we have to ensure that we introduce targeted sanctions against the military and also their financial interests. We need to make sure that we don't trade with that country in a blanket way. Of course, we should make sure people don't suffer, so it needs to be targeted. Our financial services, we need to look at those, whether there's trading going on with the military, where that's happening, that's got to stop. We also need a global arms embargo. There's nothing to stop the UK, which is the penholder in the UN Security Council, working with the US and other allies, including the European Union, to introduce a global arms embargo. Now, people will say Russia and China will block things, but actually, if the rest of the world work together on those issues, as well as a referral of the Myanmar government, particularly the military, to the International Criminal Court, as well as the International Court of Justice over there, the genocide that's been committed and the duty to protect that this case led by the Gambia has introduced, that would add weight to what's happening on the ground, led by the people of Myanmar. Otherwise, you're right, what's going to happen is that they're going to be left to their own devices without the backup from the international community, and then it's less likely to succeed in terms of overthrowing the military.
I mean, we've had, if you like, moral ambivalence, though, haven't we? Because Aung San Suu Kyi, the democratically elected, and I think we would regard her as legitimately democratically elected, has been defending the generals to some extent in regard to the treatment of the Rohingya.
Well, look, the generals presided over, the generals took action. They carried out the attacks, and Aung San Suu Kyi defended it. That is not excusable, but nor is it excusable to allow a military coup to continue to happen and then to be allowed to continue against a democratically elected government. Now, there was nothing to stop our government referring Aung San Suu Kyi's government and the military to the International Court of Justice or the International Criminal Court. Our government sat on its hands. Over 100 parliamentarians, including Jeremy Hunt, the former Foreign Secretary, wrote to the current Foreign Secretary asking him to make a referral, even though genocide's been committed against the Rohingya population, and he's done very little so far. He makes excuses after excuses, as do his ministers, and they haven't taken the action. And when the Burmese military see that our government, along with others, fail to act in the face of genocide, then they believe they can continue to act with impunity, and that's got to stop. And that's why sanctions, an arms embargo, as well as justice at the International Court of Justice and Criminal Court is necessary right now. If we cannot act now, then I don't know when our government's going to act.
Rushanara Ali, thank you very much indeed.